It's Independence Day. I hope you're enjoying the 4th of July. This is a great day. This is a great day for Americans. My name is Charles Kidwel, and I am an American. I was born and raised in this country, and I'm very, very proud of it. This is a great nation. I'd like to start with a quote from the late American James Baldwin. He said this. He said, "Freedom is not anything that can be given. Freedom is something people take." So we have a responsibility as Americans. Freedom is not free. And once we have freedom, then we have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to keep that freedom and hang on to it as Americans. A founding father and our first president, George Washington, said this. He said, "The preservation of the sacred fire of liberty and the destiny of the Republican model of government are justly considered, deeply, finally staked on the experiment entrusted to the hands of the American people." It was given to us as Americans, entrusted into our hands, this gift of freedom and liberty. So as Americans, how are we doing? How are we handling that precious experiment that was given to us? I'd like to share with you some words of wisdom from another of our founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson. He said this. He said, "The mass of mankind has not been born with saddles on their backs, nor a favored few, booted and spurred, ready to ride them legitimately by the grace of God." Now think about that. And we're going to touch on those words in just a moment. But this is a day for Americans to celebrate. And it's a very important day for Americans, because we're celebrating this day as our Independence Day. This is our day that we became independent, free from a monarchy, the British King. Our founders knew how important it was to have a free nation of free people. Our founders believed in certain values and principles that Americans still believe in today and are still just as important and valid as they were 233 years ago. Our founders believed in values such as honesty, bravery, courage, honor, respect, personal responsibility, hard work, and hope. The founders truly believed in the principles of freedom and liberty. And to support those beliefs, they gave us some very important documents for Americans. Documents that we should know. First of all, and the reason why we're here today, they gave us the Declaration of Independence. And they also gave us the most important document that our founders could have given to us and handed down to us, the Constitution of the United States. And incorporated within this Constitution of the United States is our Bill of Rights as Americans. These documents are precious to the American people. And as Americans, we have a responsibility to know what these documents say and to understand these documents, because these documents mean our freedom. They mean our liberties for today. Some may ask, though, well, it's 233 years after our founders, they signed the Declaration of Independence from the King. Why are these documents so important today? Well, friends, these documents are probably more important today than they ever were in the time of our history. The Constitution is as valid today as it was 233 years ago. And unfortunately, there's been a slow erosion of the Constitution and the rule of law. And in recent times, this slow erosion has turned into a torrent or a flood of erosion. Many Americans are concerned about where this nation is headed. They're concerned about the constitutionality of things that are being done by the government. On September 23, 2004, Congressman Dr. Ron Paul made some important comments about the Constitution on the U.S. House floor of Representatives. And I'd like to share with you just a portion of those comments because they're very pertinent to what we're talking about today in the Constitution. Dr. Paul said, "The answer to the dilemma of unconstitutional government and runaway spending is simple. Restore a burning conviction in the hearts and minds of the people that freedom works and government largesse is a fraud. When the people once again regain their confidence in the benefits of liberty and demand it from their elected leaders, Congress will act appropriately." I'd like to share that with you one more time, that latter half. He said, when the people, that's us, once again regain their confidence in the benefits of liberty and demand it from their elected leaders, Congress will act appropriately. We have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to make sure that those elected leaders in Congress and Senate and otherwise are holding up this Constitution as their guidebook and using it. As Americans, there are some very important documents. We've talked about the Constitution, and of course that's the main document that we want to read, is the Constitution. But also, if you get a chance, please read a pamphlet that really changed the course of American history and had an impact even on our founding fathers. It was by Thomas Paine, called Common Sense. If you ever get a chance, or if you've had a chance, please read that or reread that. Also, please get a copy of Benjamin Franklin's autobiography. That book will give you some insight into the heart, soul, and mind of one of our most famous and most dear founding fathers. Contemporary is by G. Edward Griffin, and he wrote a book called The Creature from Jekyll Island, and it will give you an excellent history on the Federal Reserve, and it's really an eye-opener, and I would encourage you that you read that. You remember that quote from Thomas Jefferson that we started with? I'd like to share it with you one more time. "The mass of mankind has not been born with saddles on their backs, nor a favored few booted and spurred, ready to ride them legitimately by the grace of God." Thomas Jefferson realized, as did the other founders, that we, the common American man and woman, have the power under this Constitution to change things for the better in our nation. We have that power. This power is given to us through the Constitution. Just something to think about. There are some folks that were talking earlier today about September 12th. And maybe you've heard a little bit about September 12th. But September 12th, there are going to be thousands who are going to peacefully march on Washington, D.C. These thousands, millions, these millions are Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians, and Independents. But one thing they all have in common, they are Americans. And these folks believe in the Constitution, and they believe that our founding fathers were right when they said that freedom and liberty are important, and that as a free people, that it's very important in our nation. Well, thank you very much, friends. I appreciate it, and let's always hold this Constitution in very high esteem. And it's something that we want to make sure that all of our leaders, local, state, and federal, use this as their guidebook to govern us. Happy Independence Day.
His name is Charles Kidwell, and is your next door neighbor. He is an American. And thank you so very much for those great words.